Well, thank you guys for joining us this morning or this afternoon. I know actually we have people from all over here. So some of the things that we're going to cover this morning is kind of a very important topic that many people do not necessarily know much about, which is how to take advantage of rehosting or taking your legacy applications that you're having today that you may not have the time or the energy or even you don't even know who's still writing that code that you just simply want to on or deploy on OpenShift. What we're going to do this morning is we're going to cover both WebLogic, WebSphere, and JBoss. We're going to walk you through the steps, and it will be hands-on, obviously, of taking this application server code that you're having. Zero application code changes, and that's key. You know, sometimes or
Solomon, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You should stay by the computer because when you move away, it's hard to hear you.
Okay, yeah, completely forgot that we're having this. All right, so let's start again. So what we're gonna do this morning is I'm gonna show you how you can take advantage of the fact that you can run your legacy workload, whether it's WebSphere, WebLogic, or JBoss, onto OpenShift. And I'm gonna walk you through the value and benefit of doing this. I've seen and I've talked to a lot of clients all over actually where they have intention of modernizing their workload, but they think that rewriting all that legacy workload may not be something that they want to do anytime soon. I've dealt with some clients, for example, who will tell you that, well, I know that I'm going to rewrite pieces of my application, but I don't necessarily want to write everything because I'm not seeing the value and benefit of rewriting everything, but I still want to take advantage of Kubernetes platform and the value that it offers. I've dealt with another set of customers who basically interested not even in running on premises. They just want to consolidate their data centers and run on the public clouds. And for them is rewriting everything into cloud native will be what they would need to do to run it versus basically lift and shift using IaaS, which becomes very costly. Not to mention that sometimes even the software they're running, given how legacy it is, may not even support running on the public clouds. And kind of this, what we're going to discuss today and walk you through, will address all of these items. It will allow you to, as you know, OpenShift is a platform that allows you to run both on-premises and in the cloud. So whether you want to rehost all that legacy workload onto OpenShift and then take it and run it on any of the public clouds, that would be something you could do very easily. And rehosting it, and again, the key point here is zero application changes. So before I begin with showing you the value, because I'm going to show you this in a couple of minutes from what does this really mean to you, why should you care to even do this, in addition to what I just mentioned of whether it's data center consolidation, or whether you just want to adopt a platform so you can continue to write net new applications, or whether you want to take pieces of that particular legacy application, but leave the rest as is, and be able to actually run them all on OpenShift. I want to introduce you to my team here today, which is the ones who are the gurus who are going to be helping you. I'll start with Santosh. You want to come up here, Santosh, really quickly, given that we have it from here. So Santosh, go ahead, Santosh, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Santosh Gurujala, Senior OpenShift Architect at Red Hat. I'll be able to answer some of your questions around WebSphere rehosting, pipelines, and some of the stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. So, and by the way, I mean, this is something that we're not just doing it here for this workshop. My team is here to help you guys out. So Santosh will have anything. He has a lot of WebSphere experience and he can help you with this. And Jared, you want to step up? Jared is our Oracle WebLogic expert, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Jared Novotny, Solutions Architect as well, and I'll be here to help you out with OpenShift and WebLogic related questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, the one and only Abhay, who's going to help you with anything related to JBoss on OpenShift with this zero code changes.
Hey, good morning all. Thanks for joining. I'm a Senior OpenShift Solutions Architect at Red Hat. Again, happy to answer questions around JBoss, and once again, thank you very much for joining.
Well, thank you, Abhay. So if you have any questions, by the way, somebody is monitoring the chat. So as you go through the, you feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question right now for this particular quick 10-minute talk. But as you go through the workshop, if you have any questions, just ask in the chat and we will create a breakout room depending on which topic you're interested in, and you and one of the experts will work on addressing your problem. So like I mentioned, the key point of what we're after here is the ability for you to take legacy workloads that you have no intention of rewriting anytime soon and take them to run them on OpenShift, whether on premises or in the cloud with zero application changes. Why you want to do this, in addition to the scenarios I mentioned. So if we look at the IDC report, and there's a reference to it, and we'll, by the way, so we're going to send you the recording along with the deck for this particular session. But we're talking about 22% fewer VMs that are going to be needed. As you guys know, just when you're talking about Docker and Kubernetes, there is a lot of consolidation of resources that happen under the covers, and that gives you a lot of value and benefit. There's some other numbers, as you can see in here, is faster application deployment, 61 less unplanned downtime, and of course, 21% more efficiency in your IT infrastructure. This doesn't take under account the fact that now you no longer have silos of different things. I mean, can you imagine if you're having, and many organizations do, have JBoss, WebLogic, and WebSphere, where you need to manage them each independently? Well, shift over to the Kubernetes platform with OpenShift, and now everything is just an image, a container, that you have one team that would be monitoring and managing the infrastructure where it can utilize and consume all the resources as needed, and everything else is just simply nothing but just another container. And that will allow you, as you know, to be able to fall back and forth. So you update it, for example, you find there's a problem, you can easily fall back to something, to the previous version with less impact. And as you know, less impact, and this is not even being mentioned in here, that means you run in with that 61% unplanned downtime, you're able to run your business more time, and that means you're making more money in the process, in addition to the cost savings that we talked about. So that's all great, right? But then what else? There's a lot more savings that come your way. And that's actually when it comes to the software itself. If you look at both WebSphere and WebLogic, and I'll start with WebSphere first. For those who are running WebSphere ND today, as you know, WebSphere ND from a ratio perspective, if ND is 1, base, which is another option to run with the WebSphere application server, it's 1/4 the cost of ND. That's 1/4. ND is basically nothing but base plus all that clustering capability and capability. And as you know, all of that is already built in the OpenShift platform. And therefore, the only thing that you need to run your application today that is an ND application is basically just base. And that automatically means that from a cost perspective of the actual underlying software, we're talking about 75% savings for when you want to buy net new ones. Now, IBM even went to the extent of trying to help you even further by giving you the option to trade up your WebSphere ND environment that you already deployed and pay an SNS on into what's called the WebSphere Hybrid Edition. And with that Hybrid Edition, you'll be able to, like there is a small uplift to the upgrade to it, but then after that, you can turn around and deploy that license of WebSphere Hybrid Edition as 4 licenses of WebSphere base. And as you can see in here, that's where the additional cost savings come to you. If we go over to the Oracle side, Oracle EE is what typically many people run. Again, it has the clustering capability and the HA. Well, that's built into the platform. So SE is all that you need actually to run. And if you look at this, and I don't have obviously access to the Oracle, and this is when you need to speak to your salesperson from Oracle or IBM for that matter. But just looking at what's published numbers, EE is 2.5x more expensive than SE. So you can see in addition, even if you're not saving any money on licenses, IDC shows you the savings that you're gonna get from that resource consolidation. But now, when you're talking about the additional license cost savings, whether you're purchasing that new license as you continue to grow your application and workload on it, or whether you're doing conversion of that license, like in the case of IBM WebSphere, we're talking about significant cost savings that will allow you to, in many, many instances, pay for the whole effort by itself and save money even on year 1. So what we've done to kind of show you this obviously is we have, this isn't just talk. Obviously, we've done this workshop to make sure that we walk you through and show you how easy it is to do. And you'll be shocked right now when you see the simplicity of how you can take some of these applications and deploy them. By the way, this is, I want to be very clear. We're doing this after we saw a lot of success with clients. And we're doing this with just a sample WebSphere, WebLogic, and a sample JBoss, just to show you the steps and what it really means. What we've done actually is offer 2.5-week POC. And during that POC, we will actually work on your exact application to help you show it. And we have a lot of success stories where in one instance, we were able to move one very large application in actually less than 4 days. I think it was longer to set up the environment than it is to actually move the application. So typically what we show, and we have created a YouTube channel that we publish videos, and you'll see the three gentlemen that just introduced themselves actually record videos. Like one instance for the WebSphere, taking WebSphere, traditional WebSphere application and rehost it. Again, zero code changes, zero runtime changes. I'm not talking about changing the runtime into, for example, Liberty. You still run in traditional WebSphere and deploy that one on Azure, on OpenShift on Azure, on OpenShift on AWS, and on OpenShift on GCP. Of course, on premises as well. And the same thing we've done with WebLogic, and the same thing we've done with JBoss. Additionally, what you're gonna get from collateral at the end of this session is there is an in-depth technical document, that like blog, that explains all that details, which is some of this you're gonna be actually walking through in the session this morning. But there is a study that was done by the IBM Competitive Project Office that basically takes a WebSphere application and shows you how you can benefit hugely from performance-wise and throughput-wise by running your WebSphere workload, traditional WebSphere workload in containers on OpenShift versus on VMs. And all that will be available to you. And this is access, the last link here will be to our channel that we continue to upload more and more videos. Part of my team mission, by the way, is to look for ways to kind of advance and do things when it comes to OpenShift and outside. We're part of the ecosystem with Red Hat. So you continue to monitor that channel that we have. Like, we're going to be uploading videos of other non-application server related software and how it runs on OpenShift. And we have a lot more in the pipeline that is coming this year. All right, so this is the link for the collateral on Oracle as well, which is, again, there is a paper that shows you what you need to do from an Oracle WebLogic perspective, some of which you're going to walk through in here. And of course, showing you how to take in WebLogic application and running it as is on OpenShift and AWS, just to illustrate the point. All right, so with that, I think we can now officially kind of kick off the hands-on workshop, but I'm going to pause here for a second and see if you have any questions. So if you do have any questions, please unmute yourself. Okay, and Casey assumes, I know Casey's monitoring this from a different room. I'm not able to see anything right now here because I'm sharing my screen. Okay, all right, perfect. So what we're gonna do this morning is we're actually gonna have each one of my team members here just kind of walk you quickly through the workshop, what you're gonna do, just kind of high level stuff. Of course, you're gonna have the instructions on how to do this. And then you'll go from there. And beyond that, it will be just you and ask any questions if you run into any issues. So Santosh, you wanna come up here quickly? I'm gonna leave my computer here for audio, but you can actually start sharing. I already stopped sharing.
Okay, sure.
But just speak in here, please, for the audio.
Sure. So real quickly, right? Today we'll be taking a sample WebSphere application. I'll be focusing on the WebSphere ones, while the others will focus on JBoss and WebLogic. So we'll be taking a sample WebSphere application that has been running on virtual machines. We've picked an application called HitCount. The reason we picked this particular application is it was available since some of the early versions of WebSphere itself. And what we have tried to do is get the same application that was running on virtual machines, get it to run on OpenShift without making any application code changes. So what it means
for more options. To send this message, press pound or hang up. To play it, 3. To re-record it.
Lana, you can hear us okay?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, so you didn't miss anything for some reason, got muted. Okay.
No, it just actually, it sounded like there was a voicemail that was being left. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So as you see on this particular screen, there's an ER file. This is the ER file of HitCount application. we are taking the ER file as it is on how it was running on the virtual machines, and now we'll containerize it and get it to work on OpenShift without making any changes to the application code. So real quickly, right, while you'll be following all these steps during the workshop, but I'll real quickly explain what's going on in the background. So what we have is a Docker file where it pulls the image from WebSphere traditional base image. This is the TWAS base image. And then, yeah, we are making some file permission changes and stuff like that and copying the ER file to the desired location. But the beauty of this is all this code that you're seeing in the GitHub repo is auto-generated. And it is being generated by a tool called Transformation Advisor. So Transformation Advisor reads your existing WebSphere environment, and it generates the needed Docker files and all the other WebSphere configuration that is needed for getting your applications to run. And if you look at this particular repo, right, in here you have a couple of Python files. What they do is they look at your existing WebSphere environments configuration, and they are auto-generated with all the needed configuration in place, whether it's the JDBC details or other stuff. Again, it does all the magic for you on copying the ER to the desired location in the container and so on. And before I get into some of the other details, so you can run Transformation Advisor either locally, or you can run it as an operator on OpenShift and so on. And you can point it to your environment. So I have it running locally on my desktop, on my Mac. So this is how it looks, and all what you'll have to do is, so you get the option of downloading this data collector, and once you do that, yeah, you'll be able to run some of the commands that they specify. And once you do that, when you pick the target runtime as TWAS on OpenShift, with that, what happens is, most likely in majority of cases, you'll get 0 code changes needed to get the application onto OpenShift. And this particular, it also provides you the migration files, which basically mean you'll be getting this particular equivalent repo for your environment. So basically what you see on my screen is Transformation Advisor generated code base. So, and yeah, in the workshop, you'll see how easy it is to start building this application on OpenShift. And real quickly, I would like to touch upon pipelines as well. So if you see over here, Transformation Advisor even generates pipelines. What that does is basically it uses Tecton pipelines. Tecton pipelines, if you've worked with it, they are the cloud native way of getting things done using pipelines on OpenShift. They make use of efficient resource utilization, like the tasks that run in the pipeline, they all run in a pod. Once the task is executed and completed, the pod spins down and so on. So, and as I mentioned earlier, even this is auto-generated. So again, in the space of pipelines, there are quite a lot of cool things coming up, like workflows and so on. But for the sake of this particular workshop, we'll just focus on Tecton-based pipelines for running your WebSphere application and getting it to run on OpenShift. And one of our customers asked this question about not just building the Docker image and getting it deployed on OpenShift and so on. They even wanted to extend it and build even their application ER, the pipeline. So to answer that, again, let me show one of the GitHub repos. So to handle the scenario where you even want to build your application ER as such, right? What you can do is you can do multi-stage builds. Basically, you have Maven build or Gradle build in your first stage. And once that is done, you take the output of it and then pipe it onto the regular application container image build. So this is a sample repo, and yeah, basically when you run into some of these unique requirements, you can probably reach out to us and we'll be able to guide you. Having said that, yeah, I'll now hand it over
So I just want to mention two key points here. Thanks, Santosh. Sure. So the first one is obviously if you already have a system that generates the EAR file and you just want to take the EAR file as is and move it over, that would be kind of the simplest thing. That's the one that you're going to see being super simple. One question that did come up during some of the conversations we had with customers is, so I'm used to when it comes to WebSphere, I log into the admin console and I can make my configuration and my changes. Does that mean that now once I deploy WebSphere on OpenShift, I need to go log on to the admin console to make the changes? Of course, the answer is absolutely not, because that defeats the purpose of you having a container that is fully configured to run your application. Now, this transformation advisor tool that IBM generated is very slick because, like Santosh mentioned, it will point to your existing environment, will capture all your configuration in that environment, with the exception of a couple of security ones, which they're not taken for security reasons that you have to enter them yourself. But beyond that, that is done once. And now at that point, there's no more, I'm gonna log into the admin console, because now you have self-contained image that is hardened. Of course, you've tested it, obviously, that this is the one that you deploy, that you can make changes to something else without having to impact anything that is happening on the system. And that means if you make some changes that break, all you need to do is just basically roll out the old container and just deploy the new container image, and you're good to go back to the previous one. That's one of the value and benefit of running in a Kubernetes environment with OpenShift. And of course, Santosh also walked you through the steps where I don't have that EAR file. I want to build it completely from scratch using the Tuptime pipeline on OpenShift, so I can generate the EAR file and go from there. And those are the other steps that we can also help you with. All right, so Ape, you want to kind of give a quick overview of your lab?
Yeah, sure.
So JBoss will be the one that we're going to do next. Thanks, man. So JBoss is the one we're going to do next, kind of give you a quick overview of what you're going to see before you kind of start hitting the ground. And we'll give you access momentarily to all these labs and kind of give you the IDs that you're going to be using.
So Santosh, you'll be introducing the workshop URL to people, right? The user ID.
Yeah, he'll take care of it, yeah. So very high level.
So just help me out on the camera things.
Yeah. Oh, the camera is right there. Go on, just speak.
Oh, okay.
No, just go ahead and speak here because we're using my audio off my computer.
Oh, okay. I need to share my.
Yeah, you can just share your screen. Do you want to stop sharing? Okay. So just.
I don't need any of this.
Okay. So if you can just go and start sharing.
Yeah. Okay. It's easy for people. We can start sharing it.
Yep. There you go. Oh, okay. So Jared, you want to go up next because he needs to restart. That's what happened to me earlier.
Oh, and restart the computer.
Well, once you install plugins, it's going to ask you to restart. They made an update that just yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
click on this one and say share. It's going to ask you to do it. So Jared, you want to go next?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, you want to give him kind of an idea about the steps itself, what you're going to give him access to while he gets his system restarted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. So Santosh, walk them through the steps needed to,
Sure.
like what you're going to do.
Sure.
In fact, if you want to give people access now for those who are going to be doing WebSphere, since you covered it,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Yep.
Yeah, just. So it's going to restart again. So we need to admit you.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. So what we'll be doing is very shortly, we'll be presenting each of you with this particular workshop URL. And in here, there'll be the documentation in place for each of the sections, whether it's WebSphere or JBoss or WebLogic or pipelines and so on. Real quickly, each user is given the user number, whether it's user 1, user 2, and so on. The password and is your username will be alerted to you in just a few minutes, and we'll be sharing the password as well. And once you log in, right, with those credentials, all that you'll have to do is just follow the steps that are in here. Like you can just check the OC version, OC username, like in your case, you should be getting user number and so on. The other key thing is accessing the OpenShift UI. So there are certain sections where you can run the workshop through the web interface. So you'll have to copy this particular URL that you'll be provided. Each user has their own unique URL. So you'll have to copy this and open a new browser and access it. The other stuff which are in here, like for instance, we have made it easy where you can as well click. So you can either copy paste it or click it.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yep, that's not right here.
So yeah, once we provide, there are only two URLs. Like one is your actual rehost workshop URL, which has all the instructions for you. And the other URL is basically the cluster, the way for accessing your cluster, and it'll be present in the environment overview section in here. So it should be pretty evident. And in case you guys have any question, you can ping us in the chat. Having said that, we'll be sharing the usernames and passwords in just a minute. Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys, I'm back.
Hopefully it's good.
Yeah, thank you. Let me share my screen. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to talk about the rehosting of the JBoss, right? So I'm going to make it pretty quick, right? Just wanted to kind of present a picture that, JBoss has been an open source product, right? JBoss EAP. And all the steps we have kind of outlined here, right, from this sophisticated platform. So from the workshop perspective, right, so we will be using, the features like creating a project. And after that, we'll be creating a database, right? Database to kind of house the legacy function, right? Following that, we'll be building the application, right? So the steps are typically you'll find from the OpenShift console. As you can see from the developer view, right? If you add, you will be able to see the ability to create a database. So you can go into the database and then, kind of search for MySQL. You'll be able to install MySQL, right? So similarly, the same thing we'll be doing, going into a Helm chart, right? The Helm chart is going to use to build your application, right? And then similarly, the operator back, right? So we are going to use, I'm going to quickly show the operator to you all, right? That will be used. We have already installed it for you, but typically this is the operator that's going to make, things pretty seamlessly easy. As you can see the JBoss EAP here, and you will be able to create a Wildfly server instance, right? Through which you will be able to go ahead and, deploy the application and see it. So it's very effective. And obviously we have a complete detailed YouTube video explaining all the steps, including the migration toolkit and how, an existing legacy application is migrated, right, from the, existing application as it is without a code change into the new platform. So you will experience all that as part of this workshop and also the other workshops. With that said, I just want to quickly leave you with one more thing. So at the end of the JBoss workshop, what you will see is you'll be running the kitchen sink application, right? You are able to enter a record and then, bring up a screen like this. That kind of completes the workshop perspective. Anyway, thank you all very much. And I'll be in the break room and definitely will be able to answer some detailed questions. Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right. And last but not least, Jared.
So invite Jared
And
to.
by the way, guys, we will share the URL with you momentarily, so hang in there for that workshop URL. So did you want to put it on now for those who are actually going to see another video? Yeah, sure. Yeah, just speak there.
Oh, just talk to it.
Yeah, just it should be good to go. You have to do it. Stop share. Just share and go.
Oh, share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, so for the rehosting the WebLogic application, so important point of note, so WebLogic is certified to run on OpenShift 4.0. So this has been, a lot of work's been put in by Oracle to make this work on OpenShift. So today we're just going to take a really simple application and host it on OpenShift. So the main things, so we're going to pull down a repository with all the application code that we have and configuration files that we'll need. You're going to have your operator, your WebLogic operator has already been installed by the cluster admin, so you're not going to need to install the operator today. You're just going to need to create your domain. So the domain itself, so normally, if you're a developer, you're going to take your code, you're going to take the Oracle base image, you're going to build your new container image, your application image, and you're going to deploy it onto OpenShift. So we've already built that container image, and it's already hosted in Quay. And so basically, you're going to deploy that application image, the domain to OpenShift. And again, the operator is already there. And once you're able to get the application up and running, you can log into the admin console. You can view your applications, your domains. We'll show the, again, it's a very simple application. It just shows you server information. So you'll hit the app and you'll see a very, very basic application. And that's really all there is to the WebLogic piece.
Thanks, Derek. So now you should have, you already posted everything. So you should have the URL.
You're assigning the user, sharing the
Okay, and you're gonna have details like each one will have their own user ID and password to use. Yep, we're gonna assign username and password to each one of you guys. So it's already posted in the chat. So have at it. Like I said, let us know if you have any questions and we'll go from there. Jared, do you want to stop sharing?
It's in the chat. It does not work. Yep, sure. It comes up and says applications unavailable.